and welcome to the Washington Farm Bureau Update, a podcast designed to provide the latest agriculture, legislative, and Farm Bureau information. Well, hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another of the WFB Updates. I'm Ben Tyndall, and I'm excited about today's podcast as I get the opportunity to chat with Washington's very own FFA National Officer candidate, Miss Abbie Dorhauer. Abbie, thank you for taking the time and stopping by with us.
Thanks for having me. I know I was here in February for National FFA Week, so it's fun to be back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I wanted to kind of jump into that because I know you visited us before and we talked about your previous role with FFA. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited to kind of hear a little bit of the in-between, what's happened since. But before we tap in, since that was back in February and everything mid-March now is kind of fuzzy. So we may talk a little bit. I'd love to go ahead. For those that may not remember your story, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're from and how you got involved with FFA.
Yeah, I'm from Yelm, Washington, so not very far from here. I was born and raised there. My grandparents grew up there. My mom grew up there. But none of my family was ever an FFA, so I kind of refer to myself as a first-generation FFA member. Yeah, it was kind of just something that I joined freshman year. I was somebody who was like, I just want to get involved in everything I can, and I had a pretty intimidating advisor that was like, please just come to one FFA meeting, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to join, but just come to one. And so after going to one meeting, I was kind of hooked and realized that there was really a family and a unity there that I really valued and enjoyed. And so from there, I just kind of took my own path in FFA, and it's led to a lot of personal growth and finding a lot of different passions of mine. My mom is a doctor, and so that was kind of something that maybe I want to be a doctor, go into medicine, but through FFA kind of found this passion for agriculture. And yeah, so that's kind of my future career path now. And so after high school, I was a state officer for Washington FFA. I was the state treasurer last year. Right. And now I'm Washington FFA's national officer candidate. That's exciting.
Yes. Okay. Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit. So what is it about FFA that really just resonates with you? That you mentioned, this wasn't in your background necessarily. You're a first generation FFA. So what was it that obviously you had an aggressive advisor who kind of stiff armed you? This is a technique, people. It can work apparently. But what is it that really kept you sticking around?
Yeah, again, freshman year, that aggressive advisor was really beneficial on me because I kind of had this preconceived notion that I think a lot of people have about the FFA, that it's only about agriculture. It's only if you want to be a farmer. And going into it, I kind of had that thought process, but realized that yes, while FFA is based around agricultural education, it's a lot more than that, and it can open a lot of opportunities and give you a lot of different perspectives that you may not have going into that. And as a career and technical student organization, there's a lot of personal growth opportunities, career opportunities, and leadership opportunities that students in high school can't really get anywhere else until after a high school setting. And so those leadership opportunities is kind of what drew me in. And then through working in the community is where I really found that passion for agriculture, because through those opportunities, I was kind of forced to learn about the industry and realized how important it is to all of us.
So you took on the role as treasurer, correct, for FFA. Mm-hmm. Now tell me a little bit about how you transitioned. Now you're running for a national office. Where did that come from?
I had kind of thought about running for national office about halfway through my state officer year, after chapter visits and 9 weeks straight of just on the road visiting different schools. I kind of felt this lull and just wanting to be back in the classroom again, wanting to be with the members out there facilitating, advocating for the industry. And so it was that January time where there wasn't really a lot going on that I thought, I could definitely spend another year of my life doing this, advocating for FFA, helping members, encouraging students to join the organization. And so around March, I decided to take a leap of faith and turn in my application and interviewed for the Washington candidate position in early May and found out late May that I was going to be Washington's candidate.
That's fantastic. Okay, so tell me a little bit about kind of the nuts and bolts of the process? I understand you had to go through an application process to get chosen to even just become a candidate. What did that process look like, and kind of where do you go from here?
So for Washington, each state could only have one candidate. So there were 2 candidates that applied to be Washington. So we kind of went through a mini mock version of what nationals would be.
Okay.
There was an application, some essay questions, and then a couple interviews and a stand and deliver, which is basically you're given a prompt and then you have 30 minutes to write a short 5-minute speech about that prompt. So that was kind of what we went through at the state level.
Yes.
At the national level, we had quite a bit of time to fill out an application, your basic application, resume, essay questions,
right,
all that. And then the actual interview process is a week long. Normally, on a normal year, we would be in Indianapolis at National Convention. This year, it's going to be done all through Zoom virtually. Saturday, October 17th is our virtual kickoff. Sunday, I will be given a video prompt. We're not quite sure what that's going to be, but we'll create a video.
Yes.
And then Tuesday, I don't know the date. Tuesday, I will start interviews. And so there's 2 personal round interviews. You go through some one-on-one interviews with the nominating committee. So there's 9 members of the nominating committee, and they're the student members who decide who the 6 national officers are going to be. There's some stand and deliver speeches, some stakeholder rounds, but really it's just evaluating who you are as a person through these interviews and getting to know you and seeing the qualities that you have and if you have what it takes to be a national officer.
I love it. Well, about that, what is it? What does it take to be a national officer? What exactly is the job description? What does the job entail?
As a national officer, you are the student leaders of the organization. You are the voice and the face of National FFA. You're the voice for the 760,000 FFA members, and it's our responsibility to go out and advocate for the agricultural industry, to advocate for our student members, and really provide them with more leadership opportunities and community service opportunities. On a normal year, we'd be traveling around to different states visiting their state conventions. During National FFA Week, we'd be out in different states. This year, it will probably be over Zoom, but nonetheless,
it'll be a little different, but
the purpose
very
is the
effective.
same, just a different avenue of doing that. But yeah, just encouraging members to take the different opportunities that FFA has to offer and making sure that we're really living out that mission statement of personal growth, career success, and premier leadership.
Well, to kind of build off of that, as far as this year has been a sharp left in our plan. So how has the year of COVID, how has this impacted the process for you and for this FFA national officer process?
The process itself, National FFA did a great job of translating the different interview rounds and stakeholder rounds to a virtual environment. There are several new components this year. There was an essay portion of the process, which they now took out and replaced with a video portion, which is much more applicable to what national officers are doing today anyways. Most of our press releases are going to be in the form of a video, not in the form of an essay. So they kind of shifted it to be more applicable to the life of a national officer. And then obviously if we were in Indianapolis, we'd be able to be with all the other candidates. So there's 38 candidates this year. And so there'd be kind of that camaraderie, getting to meet all the other candidates. So this year that's been a little different, having to kind of go through this without those people, but there have been webinars on Zoom that we've all done together. So we've gotten to know each other a little bit. So
yeah. Well, I can imagine like you said, the camaraderie, the networking, that's a vital part of this experience. Mm-hmm. And then obviously in that particular role.
There was a couple trainings that earlier in September, a lot of the candidates will go down to Texas and do a training together. And that's where they build a lot of their relationships. So when they're in Indianapolis, it's a little more comfortable. So that's been a little bit different this year. But
right. Well, what has preparation for you look like up to this point? Obviously, it's been a long journey and it's not over yet, but what have you done as far as preparing, getting yourself ready for this? Are there any particular resources that you've really leaned on or individuals that you've tried to glean from?
It has been a long journey, but it's come pretty quickly. During the summer months, I really just focused on building that knowledge. Areas of knowledge is one of the competencies, and so being sure that I was up to date on the current issues in ag, current issues in ag education, and then just FFA as a whole. So that's where I really focused a lot of my time. Okay. I really just used like our national FFA website, NAAE, all those resources to kind of build that knowledge base. Talking with JT Wilcox a little bit just to kind of get a perspective from the legislative point of view is something that I've done. Interview-wise, I have reached out to my advisors. They've been a great resource for me. There's been a couple trainings that I've done that have been really nice just to kind of get those interview reps in. But really, and especially with COVID bringing it up again, the prep has been a lot different this year. And so just leaning on the current state officer team for Washington FFA, they've been a really great support system for me. I've been able to call them up and be like, hey, will you listen to a stand and deliver? Yes. Or grill me on some interview questions. So just really finding those people in my support system who are there and reliable for when I need them has been really pivotal.
Now, you mentioned a decent amount. I know the interviews are coming up. What exactly are they interviewing on? Is it focused on your agricultural knowledge, or is it more leadership? And we're going to grill you on, how can you be an influencer, that kind of thing?
These interviews are unlike anything that I've done before.
Okay.
In FFA, I competed in employment skills, and those interviews were great. It prepared you for a job interview, but these interviews are very in-depth. They're all behavior analysis questions, and they're really just focusing on you as a leader. Yes, your influence. There's 5 competencies that you're scored on, and they really just want to know you as a person, because as a national officer, the most important part is that you can be an authentic leader and be somebody that can connect with members and these stakeholders. So making sure in these interviews that your emotional intelligence is where it should be, and that you understand yourself as a person, as a leader, and can admit some of your faults that you have to understand others' perspectives is really what they're getting at with all these interviews.
So how has this process, just the candidacy process, how has it impacted you, that regardless of what happens, it's going to be great, but regardless in the next few weeks, how has this changed you as a person? And regardless, right now, you're going to go forward a bit different. How?
We've had quite a few Zooms as candidates with National FFA, and one thing that they always tell us is there's only going to be 6 of you that are going to be national officers, but regardless, this process is really going to benefit your life. And a couple months ago, actually, basically at the start of this month, I was kind of skeptical of that. I was like, yeah, but the goal is to be a national officer here, right? Like, that's what we're all here for. That's what we're prepping for. But there has been so much personal growth and personal insight that I've had to do just to get to the point I am, and to be at the point to be willing to share a lot of this stuff with the nominating committee that normally you wouldn't just share with 9 random strangers. There's been a lot of journaling and looking at my past experiences and what's led me here and made me who I am. And moving forward, I think that gives me a lot of direction as a person and confidence in who I am as a person. And I think that can guide anybody in their life, whether you're a national officer or not.
Oh, it's vital. It's vital just to your life. That's incredibly powerful. And I can only imagine the difference it's going to make for you as a person going forward. Well, as you're going forward, though, and once you complete the process, what is your kind of hope as you take on that role? You say, I have these goals or this ambition as you're looking forward over the next year. What does that look like for you?
Our essay question for our application was actually, what do you hope to accomplish as a national officer? So
that's a lot better, more succinct than my rambling question. So I like that. Answer that one.
Okay. Well, since you asked that, I really took a look at myself as a freshman in FFA and what would I want from a national officer? What did I need going throughout my 4 years of FFA? And really just helping students realize their potential and knowing that they don't have to succeed in a leadership development event. They don't have to have a proficiency winning SAE project to be a successful FFA member, and helping them realize that FFA provides opportunities for all different backgrounds, cultures, perspectives of students. And the blue jacket is what unites us all, not our achievements or the goals that we have for ourselves. And so just helping them find their place within the FFA, because I'm really a true believer that there is a place for everyone within the FFA. It's just a matter of finding that space.
Love it. I love that. And you're obviously proof of that, and you're succeeding in it. That's beautiful. Well, as far as you kind of going into this next week, let me ask you this. What can Farm Bureau members, our listeners, how can we support you? What can we do to help you over the next week?
Well, here at the Farm Bureau specifically, I think you guys have done a great job. I would just like to thank you for providing me this space and the opportunities for everything that I've had. I really appreciate it. I think just words of encouragement, thoughts, being on Zoom and not in Indianapolis with the hustle and bustle of National Convention, it's a little weird and kind of makes it feel a little less real. And so just the thoughts of everybody and words of encouragement are helpful to know that there's support out there for me through this process, and knowing that I'm not alone.
You are not alone at all. And I think that's a very valuable thing to say. And so I do want our listeners to know, if you do want to reach out to Abbie, feel free to send us a message to the Farm Bureau office. We would be glad to funnel that directly to Abbie. So I want to encourage our members and listeners to please reach out to her. She is not alone, and we would welcome those emails or Facebook messages that we can send on her way to just encourage her through this process. Abbie, thank you so much. You have a huge team that is rooting for you this next week, and we're excited to have you back just shortly, I hope, and hear how it goes.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been good to speak with you guys again, and know that I have support from the Washington Farm Bureau.
The WFB Update is a production of the Washington Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture in Washington State, ensuring our family farms continue to feed the world. To learn more, visit our website at www.wsfb.com.